on Channel 9.
The banks of the Mississippi River are rocking in St. Paul tonight.
The 4th annual Riverfest got underway just a few hours ago, and it's not just the weather that's hot this year.
Our Kevin Burns is out among all the music, food, and spectators. He joins us now live. Kevin.
Don't be fooled, Heather and Rod. It's plenty warm here tonight, but that apparently hasn't dissuaded some 10 to 15,000 people from coming out here on Harriet Island. Behind me, Stevie Wonder is performing tonight, but there really are sounds coming from everywhere here across from downtown St. Paul, and those sounds represent a kind of a competition that's being staged right here. There's a radio war being staged on the banks of the river in St. Paul this week.
Who in their right mind would have thought 3 years ago that we would have been standing here talking about radio stations that even wanted to broadcast from Harriet Island during the month of July?
Riverfest has become a battlefield, and every 100 yards or so, your ears are treated to a new assault.
Well, it's kind of fun. Again, we get to hopefully mingle with the crowd, between the songs we go out and we chat with them and we find out what they want out of a radio station. So it's kind of, it's almost like a kind of a mini research lab for us too. So it's a two-way street and it's nice for us.
An event like this is almost tailor-made for a station like KMAP. It's only 2 months old, but it's here playing with the big boys.
Oh, absolutely. We expect hundreds of thousands of people to come out here, and the exposure KMAP is going to get during the 11-day Riverfest is you couldn't buy it.
But what you could buy is the title of Official Information Station for Riverfest. It's a chance to get your logo splashed everywhere. And it's a trend being seen more and more at events like this, Taste of Minnesota, and the State Fair.
You have to not only play the music, but you also have to provide the information, and we have merchandising now. It's on a much larger scale. Yeah, it's getting much more competitive. Now, in many ways, that's a healthy competition because the promotional budgets for many radio stations have gone way up in the recent years. Of course, what's really the big attraction here is the live music. Opening night features Stevie Wonder. Now, earlier, Stevie met with reporters to talk about his music and of his hopes of getting into politics. The popular singer says he'll run for mayor of Detroit in the next few years, and he'll continue to use his music and influence to fight apartheid in South Africa.
So obviously, if music can be the vehicle through which positivity can happen, as we do know it can, then I will always do that.
Other performers during the 11 days of...
Just 1 second, Steve. It's going to be live on TV. If we can wait for that next question, it'll be in a...
George Thorogood, Saturday, the Dick Clark 60 show. Then on the 11th, Sting. The 12th, Kool and the Gang. The 13th, Herb Alpert. The 14th, Dan Fogelberg. The 15th, The Big Show, Stevie Winwood. The 16th, The Temptations and the OJs. And closing it out on the 17th will be Jimmy Buffett. A good crowd here tonight and a very diverse lineup of music. And just to give you a taste of what's going on, tickets here are $10. Sting performed at Northrop earlier this year. He sold out the show in 1 hour. Tickets for that were $16.50 and $18.50. So the promoters are pushing this as a real bargain, too. Rod and Heather?
Kevin, we know that the rains haven't bothered the crowds any, but how about the heat? Has the heat bothered the crowds?
I think the heat is bothered the reporters and photographers who have been out here all day. But no, really, the heat hasn't kept the crowds away. There are extra first aid people on duty here and ambulances, and there's running water and free ice for everybody. So it's not too bad. Saturday will be the big test when you got a full day of activities out here in Harriet Island.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Well, Riverfest began, or had its beginning 7 years ago, as just a small waterfront festival. But in the 3 years since it became a huge music fest, it has grown in leaps and bounds. This year, the city of St. Paul expects to make more money than it ever has on the event if the weather cooperates. By this afternoon, most of the concessions and stages had been set up and deserted. Workers had fled the heat. Concessionaires are hoping to do a banner business this year, as is the city of St. Paul, which takes a cut of the proceeds from Music Festivals, a national outfit that organizes Riverfest and similar events around the country. Its first year of business in 1985 for St. Paul was a disaster, with the city losing $450,000. But the event has been in the black ever since, beginning with a modest take of $20,000 in 1986. In '87, the city made $110,000. This year, city officials expect their profit to be $125,000.
A lot of it's going to depend on weather. When it's real hot, I think people will stay away because they'll just be uncomfortable. And if we should happen to start having a lot of rain, and if it comes at the wrong times, that's also going to hurt us. But if the projections that that the festival people have been working under come true, we probably will gross our net out about 150,000 as opposed to the 125.
They hope to achieve bigger gate receipts by balancing out the main stage acts. Last year, blockbusters like Whitney Houston packed in 40,000 people in one night. The festival had 4 such big nights last year. On the other 6 nights, the crowds drew under 15,000. This year, they hope to have 25,000 to 30,000 people every night.
By the addition of the jazz stage, which is new this year, and we'll have people such as Maynard Ferguson, Herbie Mann, that's going to draw people by itself, where it won't just be a spin-off stage from the main stage. It'll draw people on its own.
Once you're out in the hot sun for a couple of hours and you sweat, a lot of the sunscreen is removed. A lot of it is diluted by your sweat.
Saturday at 7.